In the last video, we have seen how to validate and save data with our form. And the way this works is that the user can enter some text in the provided input fields, and then we use the onSaved callback to store these values locally. So our next goal is to use this data to create jobs that we can save in Firestore. And as we know, we can do that by calling the createJob method in our database class. And in turn, this will convert our job object into a map of key value pairs that we can send to Firestore. However, the addJobPage class currently doesn't have access to database, and you might think that getting the database is as simple as writing final database equals provider.of database with context and importing the corresponding files like this. However, this doesn't work, and as a proof of this, I can hot reload and I can open the console, and if I try to enter a new job like this, I can see that we get an error on the console. And this is telling us could not find the correct provider of database above this addJobPage widget. So what is going on in here? Well, the problem is that even though we have a provider of database as the parent of the jobs page, then when we create a new job, we are presenting a new route from the main navigator. And this means that our addJobPage is a child of the material app, and so it doesn't have an ancestor of provider of database. So in order to solve this problem, we have two possible solutions. The first one would be to move the provider of database above the material app so that it's accessible to all widgets, just like the provider of Oath. However, this would not work without further changes because we can only create a database object once we know the user ID, and this is only known inside the stream builder of the landing page. So the alternative solution is to pass the database object directly from the jobs page into the constructor of the addJobPage class. And this would work because the jobs page has a provider of database as its parent. So let's see how we can do that. As we have said, we would like to pass the database explicitly to the addJobPage widget. And to do that, we can create a final database, and we can generate the constructor for injecting this value. And then we can make sure that this is a required property, like this. And because we use the show method to present this page from the jobs page, then we can use this context to get the database by typing final database equals provider of database with context. And then we can pass the database object to the constructor over here, like this. And just to be clear, this line that we have just added is identical to this line that we have added to the submit method. But the difference is that this is the context of the addJobPage, which is over here in the widget tree, and instead the context inside the show method is the context of the jobs page, because this method is called from inside the jobs page. And as a result, we can get the provider of database with this context. So what we have just learned is that we need to be careful about which context we use when accessing objects with provider. And having a good understanding of the widget tree is very useful. And I suggest that we pay special attention when we push routes with the navigator object, because when we do that, any new widgets become children of the material app, and they will only have access to providers that are above the material app. And this means that any other object might need to be passed in explicitly, like we have done here with the database object. Okay, so let's continue on the next video.